years now. And I have to tell you that my career path has definitely skyrocketed since I have joined Mastrius. Not just the knowledge I'm getting and learning what I didn't even know I didn't know, but the business of being an artist. And that's something Jessica is very well versed in. Oh, good. Here come Anae and Anna. Hello, Anna.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hello, Anae. I was just introducing myself, and I was going to hand everything over to Jessica so she could introduce herself, and maybe we all could maybe give a brief introduction, tell us where you're at, if you're a Mastrius member or not, and what your experience with Mastrius is. So Jessica, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you, Lynn. Thanks everybody for joining this morning for the majority of you, and afternoon if you are in Europe. I'm Jessica, and I'm an oil painter based in Spain. I'm originally from a small town on the northeast part of the country, very close to Barcelona. And I would like to give you a little bit of information of my experience as a painter, what I've been doing until now, what I'm working on at the moment, so you know a little bit of my profile. I don't know if you had the chance to review my portfolio, either on my website or Instagram, or maybe through the Mastrius platform to understand a little bit of the kind of art that I focus on. But as well, I'll give you some details about that. So in case you haven't had the chance, you'll have more information. And then, as Lynn very well said, I would love to hear some information about you guys, whoever is happy to do so. So this has to be like a informal, relaxed chat that everybody is welcome to participate if they feel like they want to share their experiences. And then I'll give maybe some information about what I like to focus on our group, the information I like to give, how I approach the mentorship, and a little bit of more details of the 3 sessions that we did together. Feel free to interrupt me at any point. I like to have like these open discussions, so please stop and ask questions or ask for me to expand in any point that you feel that you would like a little bit more details. And I'll make sure we have at least 20 minutes at the end protected only for questions and answers, so we can have this group discussion about what we feel we like to expand on. I can see that these more people are joining in, which is amazing. Welcome everybody. So I'm just going to explain who I am as an artist. I started my experience as a little child. My father is a painter here in Spain, so he was the one teaching me the fundamentals of drawing and painting. And I had like the fortune and good luck that like a safe space for creation. There were always art supplies at home. So I was able to maintain this creativity through different stages as I was getting older. And I more or less focused on painting in acrylics until I was 17 approximately, when then I went to the university. My parents, despite they were linked to the art world, they were very much concerned about the economical situation in the country, especially because there was no social media at the time. So they encouraged me to go to university to study something else to have this secure job. So I did so. I decided to study midwifery. So professionally speaking, aside from the art world, I'm a midwife. I moved to the UK when I was 21. I lived in London because I needed to get out from the country, from Spain, and experiment, get to know people from around the world, getting better in English, and trying to continue my art career. And it's there in London when I decided to switch from acrylics to oils. This took me a while because at the time I was still very much limited with the fear of changing material, experimenting with oils that I never worked before. So all these limitations that we encounter throughout our art career. And slowly my collectors base started to grow. I started to have a kind of like presence in Instagram. I built up the newsletter, professional website, participated in art competitions, and all of this started to get stronger and stronger until obviously I couldn't keep up both careers, and then I focused only on painting. And since then, I only been painting. Mainly, you will see my portfolios is figurative work. I'm very specific on this. I work in oils and I do figurative painting. My figures, they are quite hyper realistic because I've been quite obsessed with details. But I love plein air. I do landscape painting. I just don't show it. I go with my father and we do all sorts of painting, but because my objective is to have a much more international presence and potentially at some point being represented by an art gallery, I'm very specific of what I show on my website and social media. So you might not see at all this kind of work, but I do them as well on a side. So I think like even if some of you work, you do landscape or city scape or still lives, we are still able to meet a common ground because I have experience in other modalities, despite you will see a very much specialized portfolio in figurative work. At the moment, I'm exploring the relationship between abstraction and hyperrealism. So within the same painting, you will see that the figure is very much detailed, but I work on a collage-like complex background with many abstract forms and different light sources. The projection of my work is continue exploring these two forms and potentially working on both, either in the same painting or on separate ones. So as well, I try to introduce different abstract forms within our sessions and try to explore more like these bold and expressive brush strokes, despite my figures are very hyper-realistic. So you will see a very, very concrete portfolio, but there are many different modalities of painting that I'm confident in, and I can help you to develop as well and put it on your own practice. So this is my experience. Aside from Mastrius that I started in January, I do private teaching lessons, but only focus on technique. I sell my portfolio directly from the studio and I take on commissions. So Mastrius is the latest project I join in, which I'm very excited about. And Julie contacted me in December this year, and we started our lovely group, the 343 with Lean. And so we've done 3 sessions so far. And this April, we are 4 members, and Anna as well joined us last month. So we're very happy with that. And we are slowly consolidating the group and trying to give information and share what we've been doing so far in our group to see if any of you guys would like to join us. If you have some questions about my art experience or career, please feel free to ask now. And then we can proceed of you guys introducing yourself and share a little bit of your experience. If you've been in Mastrius for a long time, or if you are a new member, and as well, I would like to know what you would like to take out from the mentorship and more or less at which stage of your career you are currently at.
Before we start, I just want to let everyone know that there is a way to raise your hand if you want to ask a question. Down at the bottom of your screen is a little menu and there's a smiley face in there that says reactions. And if you click on that, one of the buttons in there says at the bottom, raise hand. And when you click on raised hand, I'll just show you. You pop to the very front of my screen and a hand goes up. So, and then when you're finished asking your question, you can lower your hand. And the other way you can communicate with us as well as speaking is if you feel more comfortable, just put your question in the chat and I can read it out for you as well. So either raise your hand, speak, or put it in the chat. Lots of options. And I thought, why don't we just go through everybody in order of my screen? I wanted to say hello to Cherry and Anna, both of whom are in our groups right now. And they will be sharing, I hope, some of their experience with us. And also to let you know that Karen is on mute because there are other people in the room with her. So she's going to communicate with us through the chat. That's why you'll see all of her little messages coming in through there. And the first person on my screen is Cindy. Would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about your experience with Mastrius.
I've been with Mastrius for, it's almost 20 months now, I think. I started off with Doug Swinton and learned from Anita McComas, Keiko Tanabe. I'm now with two mentors. One is just wrapping up with David Langevin, and I've just started, just joined with Charlie Easton. So lots of good experiences, lots of learning. Man, and I would say I'm an emerging artist. I have only really been going at this since I retired in 2017. I retired from my career in counseling and teaching. So just 5 years, I guess, however many years that is. So I've really been on quite the steep learning curve, but it's been awesome. Yeah.
Wonderful. And where are you joining us from, Cindy?
From Airdrie, Alberta, Canada.
Ah, I know that area very well.
Just outside of Calgary. And you're in, you said
Preston. I'm in Preston, BC, but we retired here 6 years ago from the Calgary area.
Okay.
And we enjoy our weather and watching yours, I have to say.
Yeah, my sister-in-law lives out in Kelowna and she taunts us all the time.
Thank you, Cindy, for sharing. Leanne, would you like to go next?
I live in Meadow Lake, Saskatchewan. We still have 3 feet of snow, Cindy.
Yeah, I feel for you.
I joined Mastrius almost 2 years ago too. I'm in 3 groups. I joined a group, and then there was just so many people more people I wanted to learn from. I joined a second one, and then I started navigating. So I'm in a third one. I started navigating in January. Yeah, can't get enough of it.
And nice. What medium do you like to work in, Leanne?
Well, I was a mural painter before the pandemic. Then I quit during the pandemic, and after that, I decided I'm going to pursue art. So it was acrylics, but my mentors have mostly been in oil, and I've been trying to push myself to learn oil. And I think I will love oil when I get the hang of it, but it's still a bit of a challenge.
Well, thank you for sharing, Leanne. Nancy, you're next on my screen.
Hi, excuse me. I'm in Toronto, Ontario, and I'm currently with Julie DeBoer, but this will be my last session with her coming up, and I'm with my brain's got Sarah Jane Brown now, just starting with her.
Lovely, yes.
I did a coloring session with her. It was amazing. I learned so much. I mean, I always learn from all the sessions, but hers was specifically color, and she went right back to the basics. And it's amazing, the basics, just how much you thought, but you don't know. And it was really interesting about the color wheel, what she introduced to us. Most of us keep it in our drawer, but it's amazing how useful it can be. And I'm in acrylics.
Well, thank you for sharing. That's wonderful. And you're right. It doesn't matter who our mentor is. We just learn so much, don't we?
Yes. Thank you.
That's very
I'm just going to share Karen's introduction. Karen is in Calgary. She has just joined Mastrius a month ago. She's an emerging artist, although she feels she may be closer to aspiring. I think all of us feel that way. We never feel like we're far enough along in our journey. She works in acrylic and likes landscapes. And she started when she retired from a teaching career with the Cochrane High School. Did I get all that right, Karen? Close enough? Okay. And next on my screen is Bonnie. Bonnie, you are muted, dear.
That's in case the dog starts to bark.
Right.
So I'm from central Wisconsin, and I've been with Mastrius for about 1.5 years. And I have taken Xiaoming Wu, and I'm doing Alexandra Manukian and Brian Sindler, and those I'm navigating in September, Victor Wang, I hope, but I'm an oil painter, and I'm in love with portraiture. So that's why I'm here, because Jessica is in my lane, except you're way up there. So thank you so much for doing this. This is awesome. Yeah.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Bonnie.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Sue.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sue Dion. I live in Massachusetts, and I'm a new mentor with Mastrius. My mentorship starts Tuesday night. I have 4 students. We're going to be exploring a more holistic artist practice, among other things. And I'm offering a course in watercolor. Starts the end of the month because there's not a lot of watercolor up there on the Mastrius site. So
No.
I work, I love it. It's so spontaneous, but I work in watercolor, acrylics, and oils primarily. So it's a pleasure to be here. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you, Sue. And congratulations on your mentorship. You must
Thank
be
you.
excited. It's starting.
Yes, it'll be fun. I've been busy.
Anna, would you like to go next?
I can go next. Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Anna Zanella. I am a mixed media artist. I love painting figurative portraits and that kind of stuff. I have been with Mastrius for a long time. I started as a member with Veronica Funk, and found my way to navigating different groups. And now I'm also the event coordinator for Mastrius. So all the awesome events that we have on Thursday nights, I get to plan alongside our marketing group. And I get to meet a lot of mentors, coming up with ideas for topics and all that kind of stuff. It's really fun. I navigate 3 groups right now for Ardeth Goodwin, Lori Siebert, and Shannon Amy. And 2 of these groups I have been navigating for 12 months or more, which is really exciting to have. We've had different mentors. With Ardeth, we've been together for 12 months with the same mentor, which it's been really great and really fun. I think in one of the meetings we had earlier in this month, I said my objective for this year is not to join any other groups. And then I joined Jessica. I couldn't help myself. I had to join it. So I had to miss our the first session because I was away traveling, but I'm back now, and I'm super excited to be part of this group with Lynn.
Yay. I'm
Yay.
so happy that you're here, and I hope you get a chance to watch the recording.
I
before the end of the
definitely will.
Yes, it was a fun session. And thank you, Anna.
Yes.
And another of our group members is Cherry. Would you like to share, Cherry?
Yeah, I'm actually based in Almeria, Spain. So we currently have fabulous weather, darlings. And it's perhaps a little hot to sit in the sun at the moment. I am an osteopath, but I've practiced art all my life. I lived in France for 10 years and I was a member of the Beaux-Arts Genevois and was part of a Renaissance painting atelier, which was really exciting. It's really exciting to join Jessica's group. She's an amazing artist and very talented and has amazing skills at providing information and technique and sharing her experiences of the art world as a very successful artist. And with Lynn navigating, it's been an absolute joy, and I've really enjoyed being part of a group of inspired and passionate artists. So yeah, it's wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cherry.
And thank you for the compliment. I appreciate that.
Well deserved.
Gloria, would you like to go next?
I'm Gloria, and I live in Calgary. I've been with Mastrius for 2 years, and currently I'm navigating 3 groups with Larry Moore, Angela Les, and Kevin Bilfus. And it's great that I've been learning a lot, and I keep learning. I'm primarily an oil painter, and my favorite subjects are figurative and portraits. I always say if there's only one thing I can paint, that would be portraits. So that's why I'm here.
And your portraits are so wonderful. You know, I'm a super fan of your work. So
Thank you. You're too kind.
thank you, Gloria. And that leaves us with Anae. Would you like to go next, Anae?
Sure, I can go next. Anae Jones. I've been with Mastrius for 2 years now. I started as a member with David Langevin was my first mentor, and then Veronica Funk and Bobby Dunlap. And then I became a navigator, and then somehow wrangled myself into the lead navigator position. So you see my name around quite a bit. I also sometimes host events when Julie can't. And I actually really enjoy that. That's a lot of fun, working with the mentors when they're doing a demo or a panel. And yeah, currently I am in too many groups. I'll probably have to pare down, but I just joined Lynette Milnick's because I thought she will offer something that's maybe different than just focusing on art, but kind of the mental side of things and reframing my mind. And I thought as an aspiring kind of emerging artist, that would be really good for me. I also am being mentored by Sarah Jane Brown, Cam Forrester, Sandra Duran Wilson, and I navigate for Susan Harrison Testain out of New Zealand, and she's really lovely. And that group has been together for over a year, probably 16 months. So yeah, wow. It's fabulous. I love Mastrius. I've learned so much, and I can't even imagine going back and not having it. So that's me. And I paint mostly in acrylic, but I have been dabbling a bit in water soluble oil, and I mostly do representational landscapes, but I have been dabbling in some abstraction and some mixed media. And I actually really love the play part of mixed media, and I want that to be a part of my practice always, whether I decide to sell that part or not. I love the play aspect of it. So that would be me. And I'm Lethbridge, Alberta is where I'm from.
Thank you, Ine. That was wonderful. I'm so glad you're here. I just put a link in the chat again to Jessica's Mastrius page if you wanted more information or to see her artwork, because the first link is at the very top and our chat page is getting quite long. So just to let you know, that's in there. And before I hand it back over to Jessica again, does anyone have any questions for her?
No, I think we're good.
Okay, Jessica, back to you.
Amazing. Thank you all for sharing your experience. It's been lovely hearing your background. I can see the majority of you have been with Mastrius for a long time. So in terms about understanding what's the mentorship, there's no point for me to get over it, because most likely you're more experienced than me about that. As well, I'm very glad to hear that the majority of you are focused either in acrylics or oils, because that's an advantage to have within a group. I wouldn't recommend to join my group if you are working with materials that they are far away from oils or acrylics, because they work quite different, for example, watercolors. But for the rest, it doesn't really matter the style that you are working on, because the exercise that we give, I prepare for the session, are very broader, and talking about touching what's the fundamentals of painting. This is what we really focus in each painting, in each session. This can be applied to sorry, did you say something?
Yes. Bonnie has a question that's very pertinent. She says, our group is an aspiring group, but would it be interesting for emerging artists as well?
I think this is more of like correct me if I'm wrong, the way that Mastrius has organized the groups. So for example, because I have 10 years of experience as a professional artist, I'm focused on aspiring group. This does not mean that the sessions are very basic. We expand quite a lot in each session, and we give a lot of detailed information that can be applied even to emerging artists. But this, I think, will be down to each one's preferences. But definitely our group is not limited to basic information. We touch the fundamentals of painting. We touch exercises that can be applied to all sorts of styles or painting styles. But even if you are an emerging artist, I still think that you can find really useful information on our group. And then in each session, we can go as deep or as superficial as the group needs. But what I found on these 3 sessions that we've done so far is that each topic we have really deep dive into each topic. So I don't think you will find a limitation in this sense.
I have to share, Bonnie, that watching Jessica mix paint is amazing, and no matter what level you're at, you can't help but learn watching her and her color mixing. So I would recommend it just for that.
Just for the color mixing. Thank you, Lynn. Thanks.
Thank you.
It's a very interesting question. So, and I'm glad that this came up, because I'm sure that this kind of like questions can happen when we about to join a group. No, is this group meant for my level, or am I going to be on a higher level or lower level than my peers? But I think the way that we focused and direct our sessions, they can be interesting for different kind of levels. And aspiring and emerging, yes, there are differences, but it's not that we're talking about like a huge difference among these levels. So I wouldn't be too concerned about that. Before I started the group, what I thought is like, how I'm going to direct this group for the next 8 to 12 months. And the work I did is about going backwards. So I asked myself, when I was younger and I was starting, or maybe I didn't have that much experience, which kind of information and which kind of resources I would have found useful to have. And I came out with like 4 main points. The first one is about getting rid of the fear. Getting rid of the fear is a very recurrent topic, and I'm sure that this is something that you really work with other mentors, but it's basic for our practice. Once we manage to succeed in getting this limitation out of the way, we're going to see our career really fully expanding in all senses, not only about the technicalities of the different technical aspects of painting, but as well on like painting a style and about the exposure in social media and dealing with clients, etc. So I think that this is like the golden objective that should be among the group. And then under this, there are points like, for example, building trust with ourselves. If we manage to reduce this fear of painting, automatically we're going to build trust in ourselves as an artist. When we grow, we're going to work about the self-esteem. We're going to work about understanding who we are as people, how we interact with others. So we should be applying the same principles as our profession as artists. So we're working as well on all these psychological aspects of understanding which kind of artist we are, what our goals and objectives are, and how we can apply and put in practice actions that will lead us to those objectives. As well, I really like the sessions to focus on a first part of information, that we give like a certain three tips or advices or just general information to set up or start an open discussion. And then the demos are very much focusing on experimentation and giving up this space and freedom that they can then easily be applied in our own studio practice. Because I think when we see other artists really putting themselves in uncomfortable situations and experimenting and doing different exercises and color styles and sketches, that they are kind of like far from their regular practice, this gives us like a little bit of like push of trying to mimic and do the same in our own time in the studio. So each session has a very much focus on experimentation, because it's kind of like the basis for like starting to understand which kind of art we like to do, if we like to focus on figurative work, or maybe a landscape painting, or maybe we like to do more impressionistic style, or so all of these developments and getting confidence in colors and in compositions, all of this comes after practicing and experimenting, so making mistakes and learning from them. And then the last point that I want to make sure that is present in each session is about the technical aspects of painting. So composition and color mixing. Lynn has already highlighted it, but it's something that I think it's crucial in every artist's practice. We need to really be confident in color mixing, because this can be applied in any kind of like a stage of any career or any painting style. We should be able to detect the right value, the right chroma, the right hue, and then be able to replicate this in our mixing. Even if we work with acrylics or in oils, it doesn't matter, but we should be able to do the colors that we really intend to do. And because painting doesn't have a golden formula, this is what it gives all the challenges, but at the same time keeps it interesting. I think it's important that we learn from different artists, how they do their color mixing, what's their tricks and to do the paintings, and then we can pick and choose what we find much more interesting and apply to the practice. So I don't have a very strict approach on the technical aspects, because these are would be very much focused on teaching, not mentoring, but we still give like good information on the technical aspects of color mixing and painting itself. At the moment, the demos have been very much focused on representational art, figurative painting, and the last demo we did, it was about a flower and the color mixing of it. But in each session, we go back to basics. So we worked about a basic color mix and then getting the palette from simple steps to a much more complex color mixes. We work with neutral scales, complementary colors, understanding the relationship between colors and how we can find a kind of like a complex premix colors from very basic starting points. I think this is key for starting basic and then expanding to a much more complex and a much more interesting color palette. And this goes back to which kind of level I am and if I'm suitable for this group. I think this kind of like covers different levels that we can find among the members of Mastrius. And as well, the group that we have, we're currently 4 members. There is kind of like a similarities among the portfolios, but there are certain aspects that they differ. For example, just to put an example, in the last session, we noticed that Lynn really likes hard edges, and then I was showing about soft edges. No, this is still, it's relevant. Why? Because we need to know what are the options, what are the different styles that we can pick from. We try in our practice, and then we choose which ones we integrate in our own studio time and which ones we discard. So on the 3 sessions that we've done so far, I covered psychological aspects of painting on the first session. We covered about getting out from the comfort zone, experimenting, trying to get rid of the fear through sketches and color studies, and how to be less precious about our own work. So the homework that we did in the first session was about doing a quick sketch and then destroying our own work. This could be, or this could feel a little bit too radical, but it really helps to be bold on front of a blank canvas. So what we don't want is to feel threatened by the complete freedom we have when we have a blank canvas. We need to understand that especially acrylics and oils, they are very forgiving. So it doesn't matter if we do mistakes, we can easily redo it again on top, but we need to have the courage to do that. And
along those lines, Leanne was asking, how did you learn to get rid of the fear?
It took a while. It didn't happen overnight. What I did that it really helped me is to do a lot of color studies and sketches. I destroyed quite a few of them. So related to the first homework we did together, I put a time set on my sketch. For example, I'm going to do a sketch of 30 minutes. And when the clock stops, this is where I put my brush down, and I don't do any other brush strokes, and I destroy my own work. Why? Because the objective of this sketch was, for example, being expressive, doing a piece of work quick and intuitive, but just without being pressured about it, without feeling that needs to come out a beautiful piece of work. So by doing these little homeworks, the little sketches and color studies, I managed to slowly reduce the fear of painting, because I understood on a hard way that any mistakes can be corrected on any painting. Anything that we do on the sketch that can be destroyed, the same could happen in this beautiful painting that we want to do. And another thing that has really helped me It was about doing the backgrounds alongside the figure. I think this is something that most figurative paintings might feel that it's a limitation. For example, if you are focused on doing a beautiful figure, when you are finished with the figure, you will feel like scared of destroying it with a very expressive background or experimenting with different textures and technique, because it already came out beautiful and you don't want to destroy this piece. So by working the whole painting together, you get rid of this limitation, because the face, for example, is not finished, so you still can do mistakes on the background and then go back to the figure, complete it, and the background is almost done. So between color studies, sketching, destroying works, together with finding a technique that will not limit me meanwhile I'm painting, slowly, after many years, my fear of painting reduced quite a lot until it disappeared. I must say that the technical aspects of painting are really important for that. If we find ourselves hesitating in color mixing, hesitating about composition, this will limit us, this will bring us fear, because we will see the painting is not coming the way that we imagine it would come. So all these psychological aspects are very important. So if we know or we feel that these technicalities are a limitation, we can just practice color mixing without aiming to do any painting. So we take a palette and we start to mix colors. For example, I have a flower here in front of me, and I just do the color mixing of the colors I see on this flower without the intention of doing a beautiful piece out of it. So it's about getting efficient and getting quick on doing color mixing properly. When we build up this trust as well in our technique, automatically we'll reduce this fear, because when we approach the blank canvas, we will have the confidence to say, okay, my idea is going to come out and it's going to come out beautiful because I know I can do that. And this confidence comes slowly, but putting all these exercises and different aspects together has really helped to reduce this fear and gaining confidence and trust in ourselves. Very good question, Leanne. Thank you.
Thank you. I have to share with everyone, I'm just going to take the spotlight off for a second. It's one thing for Jessica to talk about, you know, we're going to do this exercise and it's going to help you with your fear, but actually physically doing the exercise was mind-blowing. And we had a limitation, like she said, no more than 30 minutes are you allowed to spend on this painting that you're going to create, that then you're going to destroy. And we had to provide evidence that we destroyed it. We had to take pictures. And I kept telling myself it really helped. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how this face is going to turn out because I'm going to be destroying it. And then I went to destroy it. And it was the hardest thing I've done in a very long time, even though it wasn't my best work, even though it was on a piece of paper that I just did with pan pastels and I was going to rip it up. It was really, really hard to destroy my work and physically feeling that emotion. And it really broke through a barrier for me. And because I have fear all the time before I start painting. And I have to tell you that one little exercise has changed everything that I start now, because I just say to myself, oh, doesn't matter. I'm just going to wreck it. I'm just going to throw it out when I'm finished, even though if I'm really not, I'm just telling myself that. And it really helps me overcome that basic fear of getting started and moving forward. So and Cherry, you had similar, it was similar for you, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's a really liberating exercise.
That's the word, liberating.
Yeah, I think obviously when we do the demos and we do the action in the session, things are much more clear. But I I like to link what we talk about the session with the homework. So the first demo, I did the same. I did, I think it was like a 20 or 30 minutes of sketch, and then I destroyed live in camera. So everybody felt encouraged to do the same. And then we revised the homework on the next session. And everybody thought that it was a good experience. So obviously I want you to join our group, but even if you don't, try this on, because it might help you as a good trick to incorporate that in our studio practice. For example, the second session, what we did, we focused on marketing. So we focused a lot in Instagram, social media presence, website, newsletter, and how we can get engagement on our Instagram, etc. So this is something as well that we touched on, and we can go even more deeper and deeper. So it's a topic that can come again as part of our session, because it's just so much information to incorporate. And then the third session, we talked about studio practice and working habits, and how tools will interfere by helping or disadvantaging us on applying the paint on the canvas. So back to the technical parts of painting, it's very important which kind of materials we're using in our studio. And we shouldn't be taking this lightly, because I showed the group by doing the same sketch. We painted a flower with the same color mix. In one sketch, I used a palette knife and the other a flat brush, and I had a completely different outcome, despite I had the same time limit and I was the same person. So understanding our tools and being professional, like really like kind of like masterizing the knowledge in our materials and our tools as well will have a direct impact on the way we apply the paint into the canvas and the way that our painting comes out. So this has been the 3 sessions we've done so far. We touched on the psychological aspects, we touched about the marketing, and we touched about the technical parts of painting. And the following sessions will be exactly the same system. We will touch on these 3 big aspects, because those 3 big circles, they kind of cover everything that we should be taking into consideration as a full-time professional artist.
Just to reply out loud to Karen, if you join in the middle of a mentorship or after mentorship has already started, you have access to the recording from the previous session. But once the new session starts, that is recorded over. So you don't have access to the very beginning. But usually that isn't an issue, because we can move forward. Like Jessica was just saying, we still touch on those issues, but in more depth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And because you have to submit this profile form, this is the place that we always insist on putting the information that you would like me to focus for the next session. So you can have the mid-month session with Lynn, and then she will tell me which kind of like things you would like me to focus on the next session. And this is what the information you put it is what I will do. I really like to focus on the things that the members of the group feel that they need to work on. So you will have like full priority. You'll be listened, and all your questions will be answered on the following session. So it will be a very personalized thing.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so mentorship's meant to be responsive. You can come and go monthly. It's a month-to-month thing. And yes, things build on, but many of our mentors are really good at just absorbing new members into it. And it's often like the same things are being taught, but showing in different ways and building on it. So you don't need to worry that you haven't seen the first sessions. If you were taking a course, for example, you wouldn't be able to join a course partway through. You would have to join a course at the beginning, but then you would have access to all of the recordings for the entire course duration. So that's kind of the difference between the course and the mentorship. But the great thing about the mentorship is it's going to be responsive to what you need as an artist versus a curriculum that Jessica has put together.
Thank you, Ine, for
welcome.
clarifying that. That's great. Does anyone else have some questions? Or would like to know more information on anything specific? Oh, a quiet group today. Okay. Karen was asking how long a mentorship typically lasts. And Karen, each one is individual. It depends on the group. It depends on the information that they're getting from their mentor artists. As you heard some people in their introduction say they've been with the same mentorship group for over a year. Typically somewhere between 6 and 9 months is my experience before you move on. But then there's some groups that have been together for over a year. So it just depends on the energy in your mentorship group. And if you feel like there's more that your mentor is able to offer you and you want to get more from them, or if you have reached your end point and you're ready to now find a new mentor. And the mentorship group itself can stay together and move on to a new mentor artist with the same people in the group. Or they may decide to all go their different ways, and because they have different artists that they would like to follow. But each one is an individual, alive entity that grows and changes every month with our meetings and our interactions. And it is a really wonderful, like Cherry was saying, it's really wonderful to get to know other artists on such a personal level, and be able to share the things with each other that our friends and family don't understand, because being an artist is not the same as other careers. I also wanted to mention, because Jessica didn't bring it up, that she has had a very interesting career so far, and that she had a pretty successful art practice in the UK where she went to school, and then left it behind and moved back to Spain and started up all over again, and is again, in my mind, having a pretty successful art practice. And what she didn't share was that she was in the UK because she became a midwife, which is so amazing to me, to be an artist and a midwife. And Jessica, I just have to share that with everybody.
Thank you. Thanks, Lynn. I thought that I shared that. Since you are bringing this up, I think one of the things as well that might be concerning for artists is about how we can find our style and how we can apply our own voice into our paintings, the storytelling. So all of these things, they are normally sorted out by looking inside, looking about our experiences, because our lives have been completely different. And we always are able to pick and choose different experiences and different aspects of our life that we can apply into painting. Even though sometimes we feel like we've been a professional in other sectors. For example, we have Cherry, that she has been a osteopath, or we all have, or maybe had for some another profession, no? And we feel like we are not entitled to call ourselves artists because we're still are not able to sustain our life only from paintings. So all of this can be sorted out by taking all the previous experiences and transforming it into painting. And in terms of my short but intense midwifery experience, it can be clearly seen on my paintings, because I paint pregnant women and I paint my ex-colleagues from hospital and friends, and the way I portray women is very much linked to the experience I had as a midwife by seeing them giving birth. So I've seen them in a natural beauty, without pretending, just being fearless and natural and confident. So all the way I like to portray them is the way I've seen them in my previous experience. So this can be exactly applied to each one of us, and it's as well something that we touched on our, I think, second session, how to find our own voice and how to apply different life experience into our very much individualized and personal voice. So that's an interesting point. Thanks, Lee. I think somebody some people had to leave, so we didn't manage to say bye to them. But
Yes, we're reaching the top of our hour. Gloria, yes.
Oh, yeah, I was just gonna ask, like, Jessica, so I'm interested in your painting, like the work process. Like, do you work from live and or photo or combination, or do you make like a composite, you know, of your composition and do color studies, or like what kind of process do you go through?
Nowadays, I worked only from photographs because the way I paint the figure, I need a month and a half, maybe 2 months to complete the work, and that would be completely unsustainable working from life. So I just did only that on the past, so when I was studying. So I do my own photo references. I do the scenification, and I choose the clothes, I do the makeup, I do the hair of all the models, and I work with as well colored lights to have different light sources and play with warm and cool lights. And then I do the photographs. I do the edition of the photographs. And the way I do the composition, it's about a collage-like mentality. So I have screenshots on my phone. I do sketches. I kind of like do the composition on paper with different color combinations, and I work as well with Photoshop. And from all of this mix, then I study the composition for each painting before I apply the first brush stroke. Because I don't want to jump into a massive canvas of 2 meters by 2 meters without having a planning. What I do is a color study and a quick sketch before I jump into the final piece. So when I start my painting, I already have a very clear idea how it will look like at the end, but giving enough space and enough freedom of choice to change the small color combinations and different elements that I feel that they need to be a little bit modified for this final piece. So the process starts far before I apply the first brush stroke on that painting. It can take a few weeks or even a few months of planning. So I plan the paintings ahead, so I already know what I will paint for the next year and a half or 2, which might sound crazy, but this is the kind of organization I have in my studio. And then the time I spend on my painting will depend on the size. If I work on a small commission, for example, that's the last commission I've done. This is just 3 days painting. Well, I don't know if you will see the light, it might not be really good. So it's a small piece, but if I work on my biggest pieces, it might take a couple of months to complete without taking into account all the preliminary work. But it's true, especially for figurative painters, the more planning we have, the less concerned or scared we will be when we are already starting the final piece.
Right. Yeah, thanks. So do you work on a few paintings at a time, or you kind of focus on, you know, 1 or 2 the most?
I normally focus in one painting at a time. The reason is because of lack of a space. At the moment, I have a small studio. I'm planning for the next month to expand and have a much bigger one, and then I will try to work on a couple of pieces at the same time. But at the moment, because of the space I have, the logistics, basically, I have to work on one painting at a time. But it's true that sometimes I work on my portfolio. I start the painting for my own portfolio, and then I have a commission. I have to squeeze the commission in between this painting. I have the flexibility to do that. So it's important in our studio practice to have a clear direction. So we know the steps and the paintings we'll be working on, but we should maintain a certain level of flexibility, because we will always have like group exhibitions or commissions or maybe an inspiration from a new painting. And it would be amazing to be able to incorporate this in our kind of like timeline.
Mm-hmm.
Great, thank you.
No
Well-
worries. That's a really good question. Thank you.
That hour went by so quick, Jessica. Does anyone else have anything they want to add or share or ask?
No, but thank you very much, Jessica. That was very good. You gave us a really great insight of what your class will be like.
Thank you. Thanks. Very happy that you managed to join, and I hope that I was able to provide relevant information and explain a little bit what we do. So I'm happy that you had this impression. Thank you.
Yeah.
And if anyone's interested, Jessica is on Instagram under Jessica Oliveras Art, if you wanted to follow her.
And if you have any other questions that we didn't have the time to discuss, you can DM me or write me an email, and I'll be able to provide much more personalized information about it. So just reach me. Have questions. I'll be very happy to interact with any of you.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. It was a fun hour, Jessica. Thank you.
Yeah, brilliant.
Thank you for joining me, and I'll be very happy if you join the group. Otherwise, I really appreciate that you managed to attend this Meet the Mentor session, and you managed to take at least good advices to implement on your studio.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jessica.
Everybody, thank you.
Thanks, Lynn,
I'll see
for
you.
being
Thank you.
organized.
Bye, everybody.
Yeah, bye.
Bye bye. Bye.